Awesome. Okay, so when we open up Reaktor, so first of all, I put Reaktor onto a track here, and I open it up, and what happens is that it opens up this thing. It says, hey, what do you want to do? Do you want to play some instruments? Do you want to patch some things in? Or do you want to build from scratch? And what you want to start with is you want to start with patch, I think. I actually, I don't remember exactly how the Reaktor free version works. It might not have these options because I know you can't build stuff, but it may have these options. I don't really remember. Somebody's going to have to kind of fill me in on what your options are. But I like to go into here and do this. You may want to start over here watching tutorials and stuff like that. Discover Reaktor instruments, getting started, watch the tutorials, stuff like that. There's all these options across the bottom down here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with patch. Now, when you click on patch, it's going to open up a screen here, which again, for the version that you've got, may look a little bit differently. So what we can do is once we're in Zoom, we can talk about this and you can see like how to get in here. If you're just watching this video on YouTube and you're not part of my Zoom class, then you will have to like kind of figure out how to get into the Reaktor blocks with the Reaktor free version so you can get to this point. But once you do, it should all be about the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just make this a big window on my computer. So I have lots of screen real estate to play with like this. Move it over. I'm just going to line this up so it looks pretty. There we go, like that. And move this over here like this. There we go. Cool. So now in here we have different modules and stuff. So I'm going to just use the blocks base here. And so I'm just going to be using the blocks that you have access to and no other blocks, okay? And then afterwards, I'm going to show you some of these other things that we can get into and stuff like that, because there's lots of really cool stuff in here. I've downloaded a few different things in here over the years. Not much, but like these toy box ones, and there's some other stuff actually that are not on this computer because when I moved stuff over, I didn't move it over correctly. But we'll come back to that a little bit later. So what we've got here is the blocks base, and in here a couple things. Just like with a real modular synthesizer, you need to put things together, okay? So you need to connect the dots like from the beginning to the end. And that means that if you're using a keyboard, you have to connect up the keyboard. If you're using if you want to use a sequencer, you have to connect up your sequencer. All stuff like that. So let's go over here and look at the notes here. It's over here. That's all from the other stuff. Let's go here. There's our blocks. Okay. So in here, basically we need to connect everything together. And so let's take a second to think about what are our building blocks with this stuff, right? So we talked yesterday about all this. Let's just go back here in our notes. The building blocks are the oscillator, the filter, and the amplifier. So let's go ahead and start there. We've got all this stuff in here: utility clock, note in, level stereo, audio out. Most of the stuff we do not need to keep. We can keep it if we want. So like this level stereo, we can keep that if we want, but I'm just going to get rid of it for now. The note in, we're going to get rid of that for now. We're going to get rid of the utility clock. So all we have is an audio in and an audio out. We're not going to use the audio in for anything. I don't even know. Can we delete that? Okay, so we can use this if we want, but I don't think we can delete the audio out or the audio in. Yeah, we can't delete these. We got to keep these. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to my bento box, which is just the one that comes with the free version of Reaktor. And I'm going to go down here to my VCO. Now, VCO, or oscillator, VC stands for voltage controlled, and O stands for oscillator, F stands for filter, and A stands for amplifier. So we're going to start here with the oscillator, and I'm just going to drag this into my screen, and it's just going to pop up here. Now, if I want to look at this a slightly different way, I can click on this button right here, and it will show this to me in a different way. The cool thing is with this is that with the modern version of Reaktor, with the newest version, you have these buttons here that allow you to use this in slightly different ways, like look at it in different ways. And so you don't have to look at it like this if you don't want. You don't have to do the patching like this. You can do the patching on the front like this. If you're doing this at school, like Shane, I know you're probably working from school, it's going to look a little bit different because they have the older version of Reaktor 6 that does have the blocks, but it doesn't have the it doesn't have this kind of view right here. So yeah, these things are super, super cool. I totally agree with you, Barb. But what we can do is you can use this view here, and what your view is going to actually look like is more like the notes actually look. So it's a little bit different, better, worse, I don't know, but it's a little bit different. You have to look at it like this. But for the most part, I'm not going to be looking at this view. I'm going to turn this off. I'm just going to look in this view here. What I recommend doing in the beginning is kind of organizing things on your screen to keep things going from left to right. So I'm going to go ahead and move this up here so it snuggles in between the audio in and the audio out. We're not going to use the audio in. I'm just going to keep it super easy to use so it's right there. But we are eventually going to connect everything to our audio out. So if I'm going to go in here, I'm going to turn my output down, and I'm going to connect up the output here to the output here. And I can, if I want to connect it left and right, I can just connect it in there. And we can hear, if I turn this up a little bit, we can start to hear sound. The sound is just going to play. I'm going to go ahead and turn up my my tuning here. And if I click on this part down here, I can change the waveform. Like that. If I double click on stuff, I can set it back to 0. And you can see here, I can scroll through all these different waveforms. Okay. So, in here, I'm just going to turn up my volume over here so we can hear things. And you'll notice that if I hit the keyboard, nothing happens. It doesn't change the pitch. It doesn't start and stop. Absolutely nothing happens because literally the oscillator is just constantly outputting sound. That's what's happened. I'm going to turn the volume down here. The output of the oscillator is constantly outputting sound. It's just a steady stream of sound. So in order to control that sound, we actually need to put in various other items in here so we can control that sound. So what we're going to do here is we're going to put in, first of all, let's make it so I can actually control the pitch of my oscillator here. So the easiest way to do that is I go over here to my utilities, and I'm going to go to my utilities. I'm going to go to note in right over here. I'm going to put that, let's put that right down here. So note in. So the note in, I'm going to connect the pitch to the pitch. And actually we could put that like right next to it if we wanted to. Let's just keep it easy and put that right next to it. And all I do is I go in here and I connect the pitch here to this pitch here. And if I can connect it up, it locks into place. See how these do not lock into place? And these do lock into place. See how that locks in? Right there? That means I can connect it. Boom. So now, let's put this back to 0. If I turn this up again, it's still outputting sound, but if I play keys on my keyboard, right, it's going to play the pitch. Okay. Turn this back down again so I'm not just hearing constant sound. Okay. And that's because I connected the pitch input, the note input from my keyboard over here. And let's just look at what we've got here. These are things that we've kind of seen before. We've got pitch, we've got gate, we've got velocity, we've got note, which I'm not exactly sure what that does. We've got pitch bend, and we've got mod wheel. So all these different things on my keyboard here. I've got my pitch bend over here, so I can hit my pitch bend. I've got my mod wheel here, so I can mod wheel up and down, right? So I can use that. We can see what's happening here, and I can output that data. So if I wanted to use my pitch bend to bend the pitch here, I could actually go over here to my pitch bend and connect it up to one of my inputs over here. In this case, let's connect it to input number A. So I'm going to click from pitch bend to input number A. And now, if I click on my A here, I can use this to say how much we're going to actually bend the pitch. So we're going to bend it like this much. And now what happens is, check this out. turn this up, and if I use my pitch bend, you can see it's actually controlling this right here. So I can actually control how much it's controlling it. I don't want it to go that far. Let's just have it do like 2 steps. Okay, so when it's set to 0, it's just automatically kind of doing a little bit here. I can have it go a little bit more. Like that. Okay, so you can set that stuff up however you want. I'm going to disconnect that. I can just click on the cable here and just like drag it to space, and it'll delete that cable. So that's what I think the pitch bend, it doesn't do anything here. So let's go ahead and just put that back to 0 here. Boom, there we go. So now nothing's happening with the pitch bend. I just want to show you that so we can start to think about modulation and stuff like that. So now if I wanted to, I can add a filter into this whole equation, but I'm going to go ahead and start with the amplifier. The reason why I'm starting with the amplifier is so that we can see how amplifiers work with all this stuff. So I'm going to go over here to my bento box, and I'm going to grab my VCA. The VCA is for amplifier, A for amplifier. I'm going to click, I'm going to drag it, I'm going to put it right here between these two. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect these. You got to disconnect from the output part over here. And I'm going to connect again. I'm going to just connect the dots. Go from my output to my input. And again from my output to my input. Now, for people who are doing this at school, what we would do is we go into this view here. And I'm going to connect all this stuff up. Here, I'm going to move this around. And you have to kind of like organize things down here in this other screen. But you can connect them up using these little wires here. I go down here and I can say, okay, the output goes to my output like this. Boom and boom. You can see when I do it down here, it does it automatically up here. So I've got that there. I can close this off so we don't see it anymore. We don't need to see it. And now check this out. I'm going to put this back up. Notice we're not hearing any sound. The reason why we're not hearing any sound is because this level is all the way down. So if I turn this up, I can make it make a sound. Right? I can turn it up, I can turn it down like that. It's making a sound. But that's kind of annoying that I have to turn it up and down with my mouse. We don't want to have to do that every single time, do we? Probably not. So what I can do is I can connect my keyboard over here to my VCA. So if I just go over here, move this over just a little bit. There we go. We can see everything. So now I'm going to connect my gate from my note in from my keyboard. The note in is when I hit a key on my keyboard. So I connect my gate to one of my modulation destinations here. For every module you have in Reaktor, you have 2 modulation destinations. I recommend just using A unless you need to use, unless you're already using A. So I'm just going to grab the gate, I click, and I drag over here to A, and I click on that. Now, it's not doing anything because I need to tell Reaktor how much modulation I want A to apply. So right now you can see when I hit a key on my keyboard, you see that's happening right there. You can see that's over there is happening. We can also now see that something's happening with A here. It turns red. And you can see I hit it like lighter and it's like different colors. Well, I want that to change my level. So I click and I drag this line up. What I did was I turn this on and off here, turn that on. I click and I drag it up. Now, right? So now I can go ahead and play that. You can hear there's a lot of pops and clicks. There's no shape to this. It's just on or off. The reason why there's no shape is because there's no envelope in here to give it shape. All we've got is the gate is just telling it to turn on and the gate is telling it to turn off. So when I hit the key, it turns on. When I hit the key, when I release the key, it turns off like this. It's just on or off. So nothing really fancy going on there. It's just on or off. If I wanted to add an envelope into this, let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go over here to my envelopes, and the one I want to use is the ADSR right here, ADSR envelope. I'm going to put that down here, and I'm going to connect the dots here. Now I'm going to keep my envelopes on the bottom. The reason why I do that is so that I can keep a separation. Anything that's doing sound stuff is up top here. Anything that's not doing sound stuff, it's just modulating things, I put on the bottom. You don't have to follow that, but it's useful in the beginning, especially so that you can so you can keep your workspace nice and clean, so it's easier to see what's going on. So I have this bento box ADSR envelope, attack, decay, sustain, release. I'm going to connect my gate to this one here, to my gate here. Boom, gate goes to gate. And now my outputs, I'm going to connect this output to my A over on the other side. So drag it over here to A right here. Boom. Now I can give this some shape. See how it's immediately a nicer sound. And now what I can do is I can say, okay, let's make it so it's like a plucky sound. So I'm going to turn my sustain all the way off. I'm going to turn this release up. I'm going to turn my decay up as well. Now it just has a drop off. Cool. I think right around 400 is probably what I like. And in this case, I really want my decay and release to be exactly the same. So no matter how I hit my keys, if I hold my keys down, if I hit them and let go, it's going to be the same type of sound. Okay, so at this point, we've got a little sound going on. And again, how much it's affecting it here is right here. But as you can hear, we've already got a usable instrument. This is already a usable instrument because we've got pitch, we've got envelope, we've got timbre, all the things. So this is already starting to be a usable instrument, which is great. We've only got 3 different things in here, 3 different, these bento box things and 1 note in. The note in you're always going to have. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and program in a little, let's move this over here. I'm just going to program in a little line here. Turn that down like that, and let's turn my metronome down so it's not blasting us out. Cool. All right, so I'm going to go in here. I'm going to hit that, hit this. Cool. Cool. Now I've got this little line going on here. And I can use this to kind of mess with stuff in here. So if I wanted to, I can go ahead and shorten this down. And I can make it longer. I think around 400 is good. Adjust my my attack. So you can hear the different types of sound. Right, like that. Cool. And I can change my timbre here with the different waveforms. Now, the cool thing is, if you're already starting to think about this and going like, man, if your mind is starting to race with ideas, well, remember, all of these things in here can be modulated, which is super, super cool, okay? We're going to talk about that in just a second. But before we get there, let's talk about the filter. So we're going to pull the filter in now, right here. pull that filter in. I'm going to drop it right between these two because the filter really goes between these. Now, I didn't put it in first because I wanted you to see the relationship of the oscillator with the amplifier. But in reality, you can make these things in any order. It doesn't really matter. You just have to connect them up in the correct order. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and grab the cable is connecting the output of the oscillator to the input of the amplifier, and I'm going to just reconnect this over to here like that. Sorry, I thought it would move, but it didn't move. So here we go. Now I've got my output from my oscillator to the input of my filter, and the output of the filter to the input of my amplifier, and now we can do cool things. So I've got this here. You can hear how this works. Right? Pretty cool. And you can see me kind of turning moving the knob here with my mouse. I have different types of filters here I can scroll through by clicking on this button right here. Right, there we go. Okay, and again, I can connect things up to this. So let's go ahead and make another filter here. Another ADSR envelope. And this is where things start to get really cool. I'm just going to change the order here. I'm going to rename it by double clicking it. I'm going to call this one filter envelope. And this one here will be my amp envelope. I like to keep things named so I know what's going on. I'm going to call this one oscillator 1. I'm going to call this one filter 1. And this one here is going to be my amplifier. Oops. Like that. Okay. So you can just double click to rename these things. Now, let's go in here and let's send this filter envelope to control the filter here so we can do some cool stuff with this. I've got to, basically, it wants to be exactly the same as this other envelope here. So I'm going to go from my gate, I'm going to click and drag it down. The cool thing is we can have multiple outputs or multiple inputs for each output. So I have one gate output. I can go to several gate inputs. I don't have to have extra pieces of like hardware or splitters or things like that to make this happen. And this is a big difference between hardware and software. With hardware, you have to buy special cables that actually let you split the signal and stuff like that. With software, you do not. But I still think hardware is definitely more fun in some ways. It really is up to you how you like stuff. But so let's go over here and the filter here, the output of this is going to go to, where do you think the output is going to go? Is right here, A on the filter 1. So I'm going to get my output for this filter envelope. And I'm going to go over here to A here, boom. And now I can control the cutoff with this. So I go in here and I'm going to make it so it's a nice little short blip on the beginning. Hold on, let me turn my metronome off. There we go. I'm going to make it so there's a nice little blip right on the beginning. I'm going to turn my sustain all the way down. Turn the cutoff down. And I'm going to adjust this here. I clicked on the A button here because I came into A. And I'm going to adjust this. Pull it up. Pretty cool stuff, right? And how much I turn this up is going to determine how far up it goes on the cutoff. Like that. So now, I can make this shorter, or I can make it longer. But you hear how it's got like a nice little poke on the beginning of it. Right? Neat. I can also make it go down instead of up. Whoops, that's the wrong one. I'm controlling the wrong one this whole time. Sorry about that, y'all. Hold on, I want to control this one. That's what I want to do. Okay, this is my envelope for my filter. That's why it wasn't doing what I wanted to do. There we go. Let's make this longer. Here we go. Over here. There we go. Right, and this will control things. There we go. And I can really adjust this however I want. Pretty neat stuff, huh? Make a nice little thing right there with just this little bit, okay? But why should we stop there? It's modular, so we can add anything to it that we want. So let's go down here and grab an LFO, and let's have the LFO also modulate this cutoff here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the output of my LFO and send it to right here, boom, to B. I'm going to click on B, and now you can see it's adjusting things here. I'm going to click this to make it there we go. Pretty neat stuff. I can click on this button right here. See how it's going like up and down? See how it's going up and down? I don't want it to go up and down. I want it to go just up. There we go. And the other thing I wanted to do is I wanted to reset every time I hit a key on my keyboard. So how do you think I'm going to get it to reset every time I hit a key on my keyboard? I'm going to go over here to my note in, and I'm going to use the gate to the reset button right here. So every time I hit the key, it's going to reset that. Pretty cool stuff. Awesome. Nice. All right, I can adjust things over here. Okay, and I can adjust how much it's affecting it. Cool, so it's just affecting it just a little bit, okay? So you can see with just a little bit of connection here, we can actually get some pretty cool things going on. And if we look at it in this window here, one of the things about this window that I don't love is you have to keep kind of organizing things as you go. So we've got our filter and all that stuff here. Let me just move things around. I can actually drag across and move things like this. So you have to kind of keep organizing as you go with this window here. Here's my amp envelope, here's my filter envelope. And I usually like for both of these to kind of look basically the same. That's just me. I don't really do a lot of like heavy programming with this stuff, but it's nice to have things kind of basically looking the same. So let's add another oscillator into all of this, okay? Well, here's the thing is when you add another oscillator into everything, what you need to do is you actually need to create a mixer, because all your oscillators need to feed into a mixer. You can't have multiple sound sources without a mixer. It doesn't work in the studio. It's not going to work in a synthesizer either. So if you've got multiple sound sources, multiple oscillators, you're gonna have yourself a mixer. So I'm just gonna pull these down over here, and again, I'm just kind of showing you like an older way to do this in case anybody's working from school. And I'm just gonna go to my bento mix. I'm just gonna drag this in here. So now I've put this in here, I'm gonna move all this stuff over here like this. Oops. Move these things over here like that. I'm going to put the mixer right here before my filter. I'm going to put multiple oscillators over here. Now, you can see that my mixer did not go into the right place up top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my mixer right here in the middle. Boom. There we go. Now, if I'm using this bottom screen down here, I can just click on this cable and hit delete. And now I'm going to set my output for my oscillator to go to one of my inputs on this mixer. Boom. When I do that, it creates the cable up top here as well. And I'm going to go ahead and create the output from my bento box mix to my input on my filter. If I hit play, it's going to sound exactly the same as what it was just sounding like. Awesome. Why is that not? Oh, it's because the volume's down. There we go. I thought it was up. Okay. So there we go. So I've got that there. Okay. I was looking at this one down here and it was up on this one down here. That's funny. Okay, so now I've got this here. Let's make another oscillator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag another oscillator over, or I can right click and I can hit duplicate and it will duplicate another oscillator here. I'm just going to rename this one. Which one am I going to rename? I'm going to rename this one here oscillator 2. Whoops. There we go. Boom. And I'm going to go ahead and put this on a different line here. I'm going to go ahead and put it down here like this and move all these things down. Hold down shift to highlight them. I'm going to just move them down another layer. So now I've got this oscillator here and this oscillator down here. I'm also going to use this note in and move this down as well to here. Nope, to right here. Okay, so I've got this here, oscillator 1, oscillator 2, and I'm going to have the oscillator 2 go into the input there. And they're, because I copied it, they're both connected on the input side of things. They're both connected to the pitch. They are not both connected to the output because the other one was already connected to one output. You can't have it going to two outputs. But now, if I go in here and I turn this up and I adjust this, I can go ahead and make my changes here. Cool. And you can hear as I change this stuff. It makes a nice change here. Awesome. Okay, cool. Now, if I want to put this down an octave, the difference between this one here and some of the fixed stuff, fixed synthesizers, is that these oscillators are really independent from each other. So I could put this one down an octave really easily, and it doesn't affect anything to do with the other oscillator. There we go. And I can adjust the level here. Awesome. Let's put this back over here. There we go. Turn the resonance down. Okay, great. So now I've got two of these in here, two of these oscillators. And at this point, really, it just becomes the same thing over and over again. You just add another oscillator and connect it to the mixer. And this is what you've got going on here. So we can just add different oscillators in. You can see on this diagram that the pictures are different because I'm using different oscillators from different synthesizers. Okay, but we have to have that mixer to connect everything. Okay, cool. So that's the basics. I mean, there you go. That's really, really the basics of this stuff. I want to go beyond the basics a little bit right now to show you what a sequencer looks like and also to show you what a couple of the other modules look like. But we just finished up basically the basics of things. So it's not really like all you just do is keep adding stuff into this equation. Just keep adding things in. So let's go ahead and just add in one more oscillator here. I'm just going to take this one. I'm going to duplicate it. Boom. And let's bring this one down. Here we go. I'm going to pull all these down as well. My envelopes, because I don't really need to mess with those right now. And they're all going from the same pitch. I'm going to go from the output over here, click on the output, and drag it up to input number 3 here. See how that puts like a nice little octave up there. And if I change the waveform, it really changes things up. Change that sound up quite a bit. They're all working from the same keyboard input, so the pitch is all going to be the same for these. And you can hear how we've got a really cool little sound going on. We can adjust the level here of that. Pretty cool stuff. Okay. Awesome. So what I'm going to do now is we're just going to keep this setup here. I'm going to keep my oscillators here. Actually, I'm going to put this one up here so we're not using as much space. And I'm going to go ahead and insert a sequencer into the whole thing. The sequencer is... all the sequencer is going to do is it's going to, instead of getting my signal from Ableton Live, where are we? Right here. I can go ahead and turn this one off. If I hit play, nothing's going to happen. What's going to happen when I add the sequencer into everything is the sequencer is going to play when I hit play, and it's going to actually tell it what notes to play. So what I need to do with this is, instead of connecting everything to this note in down here, I need to go ahead and disconnect all these pitches from the note in down here. I'm going to put this one down here as well. There we go, oscillator 1, 2, and 3. Oh, wait. Let's name that one oscillator 3. There we go. And instead of having the note in control my gate and everything, I'm going to have the information for the gate and all this stuff come from a sequencer. So I actually don't really even need this one. I can delete this one here. And I'm going to go ahead and grab my sequencer from my utilities. And over here, is it from the utilities? Or actually maybe not. Maybe here, let's use the 8-step sequencer. Here we go. Boom. I'm going to put it right here on the bottom. So that's my 8-step sequencer. Now you'll see that there is a pitch and a gate and reset and all this stuff from on the input side of things, but we don't need to worry about that yet. What we do need to worry about is we need to worry about having a clock so it can connect up to something that has a time signature. So we need to use this utility clock down here. I'm just going to put that in right here. Boom. This clock, when I hit play, you can see the clock is already tied into my tempo and everything. I don't need to worry about it. It's just this external button right here, and it's going at 16th notes. I can change this to 8th notes. I can click and drag it up or down like that, and it will change how fast it's playing out. Okay, so I need to use my gate for this. So I'm going to use my gate to go in here to gate right here. So I'm going to click on gate. I'm going to drag it over to gate. And over here on the output side, I'm going to use my pitch to connect up to all my pitches here. And then I'm going to use the gate on the output, use the gate on the output to connect up to all my gate inputs over here. Gate, come on, gate, and reset. Okay, so now it's essentially set up exactly how everything was set up before. It's just I'm not using my keyboard to do anything. The other thing I want to do is I want to make sure this resets. It resets my 8-step sequencer. So now if I hit play, okay, it's going to reset that. And if I turn these on, there we go. And now I can go ahead in here and I can set these up to different notes. There we go. And I can make a glide happen. I can turn the gate down. I can adjust these here. Let's do like this. You can hear the glide when I put these notes together. So now I have this little thing here going on. I can change the direction, or I can make it random. There we go. And now I can go in here and I can mess with my levels and stuff like that. I can make this like longer, shorter. Adjust all this stuff here. Adjust my gate. So you can see how this works. Pretty cool stuff. Here's my velocity down here, and I've got my pitch track, all that stuff. If I plug in a keyboard to this, it'll track the pitch like that. And so you can see here's my pitch, here's my glide here. So if I wanted to take this to another level and I wanted to actually have it changed depending on my keyboard inputs, I could go over here to my note in, put that right before this, and go on my pitch. Let's see here. How do I do that? Oh, I can go to my pitch. I can kick my pitch in here, and I can track the pitch. So now, when I play my keyboard, it's going to change my pitch here. Let's put this up here. Actually, let's put this into, let's not make here. So this is how you would make like Stranger Things type of stuff. You have like a little sequencer, and it kind of makes that kind of sound using synthesizers like this. I've sped through that, but you can go back and watch it in slow motion. You also feel free to ask me questions and stuff like that. It's a lot for the first time. It took me hours and hours and hours to kind of really figure this stuff out and really get into it. But if you spend time doing it, you will be able to get it pretty quickly. You just got to go through, you got to follow the video along, and then connect the dots, and then just keep trying, and then hit me up with questions if you have any questions on this stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and stop recording here.